What's going on, y'all? Your boy E-Buck here, also known as Uncle E-Buck. And I'm here with my man, the sports guru, but we also know him as Uncle Hugh. And that's who we talking to tonight because tonight we talking TV, two Unks style. So this is two Unks talking TV. Hopefully you guys are tuning in to have this discussion with us. Now, before we get into it, let me give y'all the new rules of engagement, okay? We're gonna start out the show talking about this show right here. I'm sure you recognize these people, the people of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. We're gonna start out talking that, right? Now, what happens is as you guys tune in to check out the show, we want you to comment. We want to hear from you. This is to be an interactive show where you guys let us know what we're talking about, what you like, what you didn't like. You want to change and talk about some of the other shows that were familiar or similar or just your favorite shows. We are giving you the platform and the forum to do exactly that. So we definitely want to hear from you, good people, this evening as we talk TV. And let us know what you're thinking, how you feeling, if you're liking it, so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get the show started. You know, usually when we do the show, two unks, I always ask you that initial question. You, as you know, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air first started airing in the year 1990. So, Hugh, how old were you in 1990?
1990, man, I wasn't even a teenager yet.
All right, so you was around about 10,
11, no,
10.
10, 11.
Okay. And of course, in 1990, I was just starting college pretty much. So the thing is, I was very familiar with the man known as Fresh Prince. That would be Will Smith. Had the album and all that good stuff. Had just started DJing and whatnot, so it was quite familiar. In the meanwhile, I was very interested to see what this show was going to be about. So I watched it day one, episode one. Did you start watching from the beginning, or did you try to basically started catching it in syndication?
At the time, I wasn't really too much interested in just, watching TV a lot like that anyway, because I was still 11. I was more or less focused on going out hanging and doing kid stuff at the time, which kids don't do nowadays. But at that point, I think I started to get a little bit more into it, though, once I settled down and started watching more TV at the time and just kind of looking in on it and started to watch it and enjoy it for what it was worth because we already knew that Will Smith was the Fresh Prince and we knew him from hip hop at first, some of the songs he did with jazz, brand new funk and different things of that nature. And once I started to hear it, I heard it from one of my good friends, Daryl, that used to live on the Orange Line. And he was telling me, man, you know that Fresh Prince got a show called Fresh Prince of Bel Air, and he was telling me the concept of it, and I was like, okay, I want to check it out and see what it's about. And then when I started watching it, I ended up catching up and started to like what it was about because it was more or less at that time, like a TV show, and then sometimes you have like the dramatic stuff that comes with the drama. But for the most part, it was a TV show and it was a comedy.
That would make it basically one of our first black dramedies on TV. I would categorize it as that because yeah, for the most part it was comedic, but they did have some serious episodes of which we will definitely get to talking about as we go through the show. Now, here's the thing, good people. Fresh Prince of Bel Air for me was in my wheelhouse. Okay, there were certain shows around that time I definitely wanted to watch live and direct when they came on. Fresh Prince was one of them. Different World, Cosby Show, all that was around that time, 1990, still going on and so on. Okay, we got our first person checking in, Hugh. Queen is in the building. What's going on, Queen? Thank you for checking out the show. We appreciate you. Make sure y'all check out Queen Gemini on that show Rumble Time on Tuesdays and Sundays. We appreciate y'all for doing that. Look, episode one, funny, okay? Right off the rip, I knew I was gonna like this show, okay? He came in clowning, got to know the family, we met everybody. Okay, so let's quickly go over the people, shall we? Of course, you got Will, right? Then, of course, we got the late great man. That put me in my feelings for a second. that brother gone. Uncle Phil. Now, Uncle Phil would be no Fresh Prince of Bel Air without Uncle Phil. Okay, it was his house. He was the one that brought him over there from West Philadelphia to stay out of trouble and whatnot. He was the catalyst in the show. Some of the main things, particularly that first season, was him and Will getting into it about Will just being different on purpose. Your thoughts on that, you?
Definitely was going to be something different because they lived in Bel Air and he lived in West Philadelphia. So it wasn't going to be the same. It was going to be different energy. So that makes sense. And that's why I believe that what made the show so cool because they had that collision and that was the bumping head point of the actual initial show and where it took place.
I mean, James Avery, though, was a damn good actor, okay? That's part of what made this work. That whole ensemble cast, for the most part, was very good actors. I would say the one exception probably would be the character that played Hillary. Because they really, Hillary, she had storylines and whatnot, but I really, I think anybody could have played Hillary, truthfully. She just was kind of there to me. What's your thought?
I feel like at one point, they just basically typecast her. That's where I see you a little different at with her because I think that she could have had better storylines and better roles, but they had limitations on what she did. They wanted to make her like a quirky black rich woman, and that was the role they went for, and that's what they went with. So yeah, I feel like if they gave her a better storyline, then it should have been more relevant. So yeah, I would definitely have to say at this point that yeah, she could have easily been replaced because she was so tight cast, and if they would have did a better job doing her justice as far as her role, I think that it could have been a little bit more interesting and she could have had a lot more of an impact role in the show. But they definitely didn't want to go that way with her.
I mean, like I said, they tried to kind of move towards that in the later episodes, with her being a talk show host and all that, but
that time it was too late.
It just didn't work for me with her. I just didn't buy her.
It was too late.
Like I was growing up and starting to gain some substance about themselves. It didn't work. Now, all the other characters, as the years went on, you could see their growth. You could see where they started out one way, but then with Will's influence in life, they grew to be deeper, more meaningful, impactful people. Particularly the one that was the kid on the show, Tatiana Ali, also known as Ashley. Because, Ashley basically was just basic kid A at first in them episodes, but as Will started to be kind of a de facto mentor to her, she started coming into her own. So by the time she was in them last years when she was singing and all that good stuff, she basically brought more to the show.
I definitely feel like most of their growth came from the fact that they were allowed to, and that was something that was special about the show because you definitely see where they were when they were younger and what they were when they got older. But yeah, when you typecast somebody for so long and then try to get them out of that, that's why I think that impacted a lot with Hillary's character. But you definitely seen the growth of everybody else. Like as far as Carlton and Will and definitely Ashley at this point. Hell, even in Jeffrey, man, you seen some of the growth in him and how he started to deal with things and how he was able to handle the kids and how, yeah, he was technically the butler, but man, he could get right up in them too and he can, tell jokes and, do like, things with the best of them as far as practical jokes and things of that nature. So yeah, that part was definitely pretty cool to see the impact of the show.
I mean, because again, going back to the whole Hillary thing, it's like when you think about the show, pretty much every character is like 4 or 5 scenes that you definitely remember them from the show. Like, for example, take Carlton, right? Everybody remember the scene where he was at the strip club and did Michael Jackson, and then his mom was there. He's like, "Oh, mommy." There was that. Then, of course, there was the first time he broke out with that famous song, "Not unusual to be loved by everyone," and then broke out his infamous Carlton dance. Everybody remember the Carlton dance.
That was one of the more popular things on the show. I was surprised in some of the comments he made in the past, man, where when, I believe that he was on the talk show and he was saying that Alfonso Ribeiro was saying he didn't feel like the black people connected with him or they didn't too much care for him as a person, as far as not on the show, but as an individual from him marrying outside the race, marrying a white woman. And I said, nah, that's not true, man, because, we grew up off of him, man, because he was one of them child actors that actually expanded into what he was today, being the child actor to Carlton. And because I remember when he was the best friend on Silver Spoon with Richie.
Right.
So, he was doing commercials. He had break dance, videos and stuff to show you how to break dance. Just one of the dudes who Michael Jackson, was it a Pepsi commercial? So
Yep.
yeah, man, a lot of things that he did growing up, man, and we actually adored what he did as an actor and as a person himself. So I was actually surprised that he went on the limb and said that. What's going on, Ro?
Hey, Ro, what's going on? We are talking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but like I said, whatever TV show y'all wants to bring into the conversation, by all means, jump in there. Let us know your favorite characters on the show. Let us know your favorite episodes. All that good stuff. We want y'all to interact with us as we talk this TV. Like I said, we starting out this conversation about Fresh Prince. Okay, one of the big controversies that everybody always talk about when we talk about the show, as you see, this is the original cast. So of course, we have the original Aunt Viv. And then, of course, they switched up on us and went with another person to be Aunt Viv. Later on down the line, I never did like that they did that because the second Aunt Viv did not have nearly the personality of the original Aunt Viv. What did you think about that one, Hugh?
I felt like at that point, I was like, man, what is going on? Did she not want to do the role anymore? Or if she grew old of the role and just wanted to do something else in life? But we didn't know until afterwards. We always hear the things after the fact, and it makes sense once you put the two and two together that she actually just left the show and she basically had issues with Will. And, that was a collision because, they were saying at one point that he was basically the diva on the show. And, and she wasn't going to be putting up with a child disrespecting or doing anything left with her. So at that point, yeah, it was a lot of colliding between, the cast and a lot of them, even Alfonso Rivera was saying that she was acting like a bitch and he wasn't really too fond of her. And I think that it was more of a celebration between him and Will and probably some of the other people on the cast. But I'm not really sure of everybody else's explanation, but I know for sure that Alfonso Ribeiro and he basically was speaking for Will Smith when he made that comment.
Okay, also understand, there was actually a bit of a tightness between the cast of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the cast of Family Matters. You remember the episode where Uncle Carl got a little visit from Uncle Phil on the show.
Yeah.
So there was that. In real life, those guys were tight. Same with the mom on Family Matters and the original Aunt Viv. It's interesting that some of the same issues that they had in terms of the kids being more than themselves, that came into play with that, I believe. There was that issue that they had on Family Matters where they was not happy the fact that basically the show became the Urkel show.
Yeah, and it's funny that Rose said that she wanted more money and then they let her go. Most time that's always seemed like it's the case too, man. Because if you want more money, it's like, well, you're not the star of the show. We can easily replace you, and nobody would even pay it no attention. A lot of people paid it more of attention than what they expected, though, because and Viv seemed like a more household family member, like a household mother or a nurturing type. The Viv was more or less like just there. She was just there in the trenches with Uncle Phil for the most part.
Yes, Daphne Maxwell Reed played the second Aunt Viv. That's correct. She, of course, was married to Tim Reed, who played Venus Flytrap on the show known as WKRP in Cincinnati, but also was the father on Sister Sister as well. So, They also had a later on down the line. They also had a show together. Those two. But yeah, my thing was Aunt Viv was supposed to be Will's aunt. You know what I'm saying? She was the sister that came from Philadelphia, met old boy in college, and then moved on out to Bel Air. But she still came off like she was a city folk. Daphne Maxwell, she came off kind of bougie, like she basically was the
Yeah,
version
the
of her
Hollywood.
that you thought would happen if she grew up in that lifestyle. And Viv was still a lot of times herself. So it would come up in certain times, like for example, the episode when they went to jail, and at first she was calm and chilling, but then she got to snatch her earrings off. Like, what? You must not know I'm from Philly. I don't play that. You better get them up out that cell. That scene would not work for the other Aunt Viv. Sorry.
No. She seemed like you said, she was more of the Hollywood type who enjoyed the life, like she was settled into that lifestyle.
Right. And then again, similar to the situation with Family Matters, the second mom. No, she was not Harriet at all. I did not feel
I don't even remember the second mom really like that neither on Family Matter, dude. That's the crazy part.
I mean, remember, she only played in like the last 16 episodes or so. So
yeah, because I can't even picture her over, the original mom on there, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you notice, she really didn't have a lot of airtime in that last year. But then again, none of them did outside of Urkel and Laura and Myra and so on. At that point, they was the ones running the show.
Definitely didn't help when they left and went to another station too. That dropped a lot of their ratings.
Right.
I wouldn't even last week.
They still always incorporated everybody into the scene. You know what I'm saying? Granted, it was Will's show, and remember, part of the problem also was the fact that during that time, Will went from just being a rapper that acted a little bit to being Hollywood superstar.
Yeah.
So remember, that's the same time around where he started doing stuff like Bad Boy and some of the other early movies that he did. I think he did during that time. So yeah. So at that point, he was making big money. I mean, what we know, that's why Fresh Prince ended up ending, because it was costing him to do TV. Way more money in these big movies.
Yeah, because he definitely was a Hollywood catch, man. Like Independence Day was really good, man. That really surprised the heck out of me when he dropped and did that movie. But he just constantly seemed like he was doing work to it. Like you said, that Hollywood money is definitely different than TV money. So yeah, he made the right move.
And it's crazy now how if you talk to a lot of kids today, they have no idea Will Smith was a rapper to begin with.
Not at all.
They're even some that didn't even know he was on Fresh Prince, but they only know him from the movies.
Pretty much. And that's how it's going to be too, especially with the younger generation. They ain't going to really know about that unless they see the reruns.
Now, see, another thing that I kind of don't like is the fact that, look, you see the cast, right? There's a very member that's missing from that picture. And that, of course, will be my man's Jazzy Jeff, because he brought something to the show.
Yeah, he was funny on the show, man. Always trying to kick it with Hillary, man. He was that bad seed, and Pops hated him, you know what I'm saying? Trying to, be with his daughter, and he, covered his daughters, man. And it was funny because Jazz was like always the one who was scheming on her. But it was just funny, man. Just the way he was and just the way he moved on this show was definitely hilarious, man. But then I wanted to know, I never really was, and I might be wrong, man, but I wasn't really feeling the little kid on the show, man. I didn't even try to.
I forgot.
Wasn't feeling man. Little Nicky.
Nicky,
yeah, wasn't feeling.
Kind of was just in the way in the end. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, granted, he was a kid, and they didn't really do much with him, but once we got to that point with it. I mean, it was just kind of crazy that Aunt Viv had a baby that late in life anyway with his grown kids, I mean, it happened, true enough, but it just didn't kind of fit the narrative to me.
Not at all. I liked him on the Little Rascals remake, man, but not too much of his, Will Smith stint, man, or like the Fresh Prince stint. I wasn't feeling that, bro.
Right. Now, okay. Let's talk about some of the favorite episodes, man. First of all, it seems like the episode that I see online more than anyone is the one about when Carlton and Will went and wanted to be in a fraternity. And old boy didn't want to let him in because he was calling him a sellout. And then Will was about to get into him, but no, Carlton's like, no, I got this, bro. That was one of the best scenes of acting I've seen in any television actor. That particular scene. What did you think of?
I think that it was actually the good side of the show because we always see the comedy, but then you are still seeing the parts of the show where the drama really hit and it hit really hard. Like when one of my favorite episodes, one of the serious ones, when they were mistreating Carlton and Will, because they were black and didn't know that, Uncle Phil was the judge,
Right.
And that one was one that hit with me, man, because the stereotyping and, they looked at them and felt like it was black or that they must have been doing something wrong at that time. And then that's when Uncle Phil got the upper hand on them. It was always good to see those episodes, man, because when you see those, it just lets you know, yeah, it was comedy and it was jokes and everything. Always had to side where it hits close to home. And, and that's why I think that show connected with us so much, because not only did you have your comedy, but then you had the serious part as well and the elements that we can all relate to.
I mean, definitely got to talk about the episode where Will's father, who had just been non-existent, suddenly popped up on him and wanted to be a part of his life, or at least so it seemed. But then when it was time for him to go with his father basically played him and left him. And at that point, Will basically showed a side of himself that would lend itself to let us know that this dude about to be a very serious actor later on down the line. Because that scene to this day give me chills. I mean, just, in that moment, because I think they said they did the first take and it was like, come on, man, where you at in it? I need you to feel it. That's what James Avery was telling him, feel it. And then they did that second take, and of course that became television history right there, because when you think about just television shows in general and certain scenes in shows, and as far as top 20, that's definitely like a top 10 scene in my mind for any television show ever, was that scene.
Yeah, man, it was pretty deep, man, because it hits hard, man. And I just thank God, man, for the most part, man. And it sucks to say this, man. And, it hurts me to say this all the time. We talked about this before, and you know how it hit to me, man. I pause every time to talk about this, man. I was just blessed to have my moms and pops in my whole life, before they passed away, in my family, either good or bad. I had both parents in my life, man, and they taught me some of the things in life, some of them I had to learn on my own, but then, a lot of things that I learned through them. And to see that scene, man, where it's and that's why I was saying it relates to a lot of people who was in a single parent household when he had that scene, man. That is hard, man, because a lot of people feel that way, man, when the pops is not around or they just couldn't reconcile and get along with the mother and separate, man, for him to basically go on and live his regular life and then just try to come back around, but then figure, okay, nah, that's not for me. I'd rather live my life that I was living, and the whole how come he didn't want me or how come he don't want me, just basically made it seem like the pops threw him away. And I didn't like how he did it too. It was such a cop out how he basically put it in Uncle Phil's hand, but then Uncle Phil, after that scene, it seemed like definitely became his father and more of his role model, and he embraced that more. And it was cool because not only did you see at that point that he was just one of the kids in the house, even though he was an adult by that time, But when he got in trouble, it was him and Carlton for doing parties and doing things they ain't had no business, but just kids growing up being kids. And yeah, that's what I liked about that, man. But yeah, it hit close to home because of people who I know in my childhood, man, who didn't have both parents in their household.
Yeah, keep in mind, y'all, we are talking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But again, if there's any other TV shows y'all want to talk about, any comments you want to make, why we out here also. So please feel free to jump in. Don't feel like you're interrupting us or nothing. We will definitely address your comments and talk about it. Now,
Yeah, we had to definitely tweak that, Ian. I'm glad you mentioned that, man. We definitely wanted to be two Unks talking TV, just not two Unks talking specific shows anymore. So yeah, whatever you feel or whatever you may like to talk about, man, chime in. We would definitely, give your, comments the grace it deserves.
right, and absolutely, if you see me talking about Fresh Prince and you hated Fresh Prince, I definitely want to hear why. Fresh Prince, I want to know that as well. Now, it was some things to not like about Fresh Prince. I can understand that. One, some people felt like it was idiocy. It was just a little too childish at times. That Will did some of the things he did and was clowning and whatnot.
Yeah.
Some people didn't care for it like that. My mother was definitely one of those people. She hated Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, okay? She thought Will was a damn fool. That was her word. Everybody trying to see that. But it's funny because later on, when he started acting and doing the movies, she became a Will Smith fan at that point. She loved Bad Boys. And I think one of her favorite movies was the movie where he played the stockbroker. I can't think of the name of that movie. It's hard for me to watch that movie because some of them scenes just hit so hard, particularly that scene where he in the bathroom with his son and they had to sleep.
Oh yeah, I forgot the name of that movie, man. I've seen it. There we go. Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah, that was tough, man.
It was a damn good movie, but it was a hard movie to watch.
Yeah, it was, man. To see the struggle he had to go through, and his kid didn't even know better. But it was good that he had a kid who had that imagination, though, and didn't know what was going on. And didn't know the struggle.
All right, now
that was definitely better.
A lot of celebrities cameoed on the show. I definitely wanted to talk about the road. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, that's the thing. That show kind of became a gateway for a lot of people to get known in the business. People that were actually child stars that were around about that age of Will and them. That was just a good vehicle to bring them on. For example, you had Queen Latifah that played one of the love interests on the show. Remember, she eventually went on to do her own show on Thing. And that's part of why she got that show, because of how she did on there. Then, of course, there were some of the child stars that had grew up, like your Lark Voorhees, that was on the Saved by the Bell show. Tisha Campbell, who eventually went on after that show to do Martin. Who else? You have Vivica Fox. She did a couple episodes. Who else? Pretty much every young black actress you could think of end up being Will's girlfriend or Carlton's girlfriend, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I like the one episode when Carlton, who was it he put in her place? Was it Vivica Fox? He put her in her place. Yeah, that was another good one, man. But was Kim Fields on there? Am I mistaken?
Kim Fields played one of the girlfriends at one point. Because remember, Will faked like they was getting married. You can get him some of that goody. But then basically had to confess that it was all fake, and she had to sock him in his mouth.
But yeah, it was pretty good because the transition on there, because they both were on Living Single, Queen Latifah and Kim Fields. So that was actually pretty cool. And to see a lot of the people come on the show. And yeah, man, Nia Long, it was good to see her regular on the show, after doing Boys in the Hood, so it was pretty cool to see a lot of people come in and, do their thing on the show. So yeah, I was definitely excited, man, because it was cool too to see that show actually go from high school and do pretty good in college, man, because one of my favorite episodes too was Carlton was the mascot, what I'm saying? And he do the peacock dance. Don Cheadle, yeah, that's my man. I love Don Cheadle.
He played one of Will's friends from back in the hood. Not just the the people they age, but it was a lot of celebrities that cameoed on the show. The current president was on the episode of the Fresh Prince, as I recall. Who else?
Yeah, did they go to his building? You know,
it was something to that effect. I don't recall exactly. I want to say there's an episode. Oh yeah, the episode where Marvelous Marvin Hagler, he was on the episode. The other boxer, Evander Holyfield, he was on the episode.
yeah, it was a lot of good episodes, man. And I like the fact how they transitioned to E, because not only did you have Fresh Prince and Bel Air, I had no clue until people started telling me about it a little later on. Like, well, if you like that, you need to check out the Bel Air, you know.
Okay,
And
now hold on, Hugh. Don't jump that boat yet. Let's stay here. But we definitely gonna get into the spinoff, because I definitely feel like it's one of the better spinoffs any show has had. But oh yeah, definitely gonna talk about Tyra Banks, because her work on the Fresh Prince led her to eventually get her show, America's Next Top Model.
yeah, Tyra definitely was on there, man. Well, yeah, she was one of the girlfriends, wasn't she?
Right. There's a couple other models that played girlfriends on the show at some point.
It was actually pretty cool too to see just how many people hit that show. But I think some of the funniest episodes is like the one with Oprah. You know, that was a really good episode.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Donna was their neighbor. You right.
Yeah, because I just feel like what the impact of the show, man, and it was crazy because I'd have never thought that you would see that, you know, having Oprah on the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, man. So yeah, they was doing a lot of big things on that show, man. That let you know the ratings and a lot of stuff that they was doing with that show, man. That show did some hella numbers.
It absolutely did. Like I said, it was definitely a top 10 show for the years it was on. You know, like I said, but that's back when TV was TV. That's
Pretty
back
much.
several black sitcoms on television. Because like I said, at that same time, you had Family Matters, you had that one going. What else? Soon after that, you had Martin, and then there was other ones that the names are not coming to me at the moment.
Go Girlfriends came.
Oh yeah, let's not forget A Different World and and Cosby Show and all that. All that was going on.
In that was still in that same little you know, era. Yeah.
Exactly. But no, that's part of why you like watching it, because you know it was one of those shows that made you kind of proud to be black. You know what I'm saying? You see Uncle Phil and them living the high life, talking about grabbing the Jag and the Bobo and all that good stuff. They usually was very well dressed. You know, then of course Will had his own style altogether, but a lot of those styles you seen people wearing later on.
And I like too that a lot of people, I remember hearing people talk about this before, just in general on social media, how they should bring back some of those black university like jogging suits, like the Howard and Grambling and the different jogging suits that they used to have. I thought those were actually pretty dope too. That stood out when them shows were on, like those HBCU jogging suits.
Right, that kind of bring me back to remember that era where all of a sudden everybody was wearing the throwback jerseys and whatnot, and it started out with people just wearing throwback jerseys of famous athletes from back in the day. But then people started wearing throwback jerseys from some TV shows and some of the characters.
Yeah,
like the ones with Phil's jersey for when he played basketball.
Yeah, the Carlton jersey, man, from Bel Air, and then the Polk Howard, man. You know my boy Al Bundy. A lot of people.
That was another popular one as well. BBD was on the episode. Yep, you're right about that, bro. I remember that. When they rented the house.
Yeah, that's when they got in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, another popular jersey. The Bayside High jersey, Zach and
yeah.
And Slater. A lot of people said that one. Al B. Sure and Quincy Jones. I'm so glad you brought that up, bro, because remember, the reason why we even have a Fresh Prince of Bel Air was because of Quincy Jones. Remember, he was actually the producer of that show. He was the one who convinced Will to do the show. Because at first, when it was brought up to him, he kind of didn't want to do it because, you know, he didn't have no acting experience and whatnot. But it was Quincy that basically said, you know, you could make that show your own and you could be a big star doing that show, and convinced him to do it, and the rest was history.
Yeah, man, because the show ended up being really good, man, and just really glad that a lot of people take advice. And you know, like, what if he didn't take the show and somebody else
Right.
took his place? Because we see things like that too. One of the funny things, and one of the funniest stories I've ever heard with him is when they asked him, "What's a role that you regret not taking?" And that was The Matrix. You know, because I was hearing they made that specifically for him, and he didn't want to take it. And you know, Keanu Reeves took it and ran with it.
Right. It's crazy how all those things kind of intertwine. Like, for example, he started not to do the Men in Black movie. But initially, remember, it was not for him initially. They wanted Eddie Murphy to be the Man in Black. And they wanted somebody different for the character that the other guy played as well. The Bad Boy movie, they initially did not want Will Smith. It was supposed to be Eddie Murphy and some white dude as the bad boy character. Another movie in particular, let me think. Oh, remember House Party? House Party was actually not supposed to be Kid and Play. It was supposed to be for Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff. But he turned that down because
That would have happened. It was definitely good for Kid and Play though, due to the fact not only was it a house party, but then just them and their b-boy background really made that impactful, man. And it just I couldn't imagine it without them dudes now, man. Because the house party been so cool, the first one. And then that's when I told you the second one was even better than the first one to me, because sometimes that's rare when you get a second movie is better than the first. But then at the same time, you know, the house party in general, part 1, 2, and 3 was decent. Other than that, I could care less.
right. And then also remember, not only did he more or less meet his first wife doing Fresh Prince of Bel Air, but he also eventually, because of Fresh Prince of Bel Air, met his second wife, his current wife, because of Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Yeah, that's still pending, but you know, we get on that some other day.
Yeah, a lot of people not necessarily Jada Pinkett Smith fans, but hey, I'm curious to see how well that plays out for her and the new redo of A Different
Yes.
World.
Hmm.
And
Definitely
speaking of
interested. You know, that's
now, Hugh, I think we should talk about the show known as Bel Air.
okay.
Go for it, man.
I actually enjoyed it, man. Seeing it was crazy because I was 2 seasons behind. I saw the first episode. My brother Kevin convinced me, "Hey, Dale, man, watch this episode, man." And you see it and you don't like it, man. You don't got to watch it again. Most time when people say that, man, this is like the second time somebody said that to me, and I've been hooked on the show like that, man.
You
It
did
got to
that.
he asked me, "Hey, man, you know, what episode you on?" I said, "Man, I'm 3 more episodes finishing the regular second season now." So I was already in the second season after that, and just really enjoyed the whole show, man. You know how we changed from being like a comedy to the full on drama, and yeah, it was really good. They got some really good actors to play the roles. You know, Carlton was definitely snooty in a different way, but then you know he was going through his own problems, and some of the stuff I like too about Bel Air is some of the things that still happened in the TV series. It kind of moved and spent over to the series too. That's what made it pretty good. But yeah, I think they did an excellent job on that, and all the people who played the roles from the Uncle Phil and Jeffrey wasn't no joke in Fresh Prince and Bel Air, or Bel Air. That's what I'm gonna say, because I always keep that fresh in there. But in Bel Air, Jeffrey was no joke.
Now, see, I like the fact that they kind of kept some of the spirit of some of the characters, but they basically made them their own different type of character as well. Understand, you know, a lot of people like Carlton on the comedy because he was comedic and could dance and all that. A lot of people did not care for the drama version of Carlton because he was a bit of an a-hole and Uncle Tom like. whatnot.
He was definitely that first episode I saw. I was so mad with him, man. And I feel like Will had every right to kind of check him about what happened. And then he had his own episode with the guy, but it was just cool to see their relationship. Because remember, at first I was like, man, I said I'm gonna give you a hint, or I'm gonna give you like a little spoiler without spoiling it. You ain't gonna like Carlton, man. And then, once it came along, you understood why. But then Carlton ended up being one of the backbones, and they had each other's back in Bel Air, and that's what I loved about it. Once I started to see it more, and you could see the same vibe that they had on the television series move over to the actual series itself. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Now, here's the thing. Remember what I said earlier in the show about how I didn't care for Hillary's character on Fresh Prince of Bel Air? It was the opposite for me. Hillary had a lot more substance in Bel Air, of course, played by Coco Jones, who I love as an actress and a singer. Yes. But the person that didn't have as much character on that show was the Ashley character on Bel Air.
Yeah, they barely even really seemed like she had much going on the show, man.
I mean, I felt the whole reason why they gave her the I'm questioning my how I like my bread buttered, so to speak. In other words, my sexuality. I think they basically gave her that because they really didn't have no other substance for her.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the one part when my man went off on Ashley, though, man. Carlton, with the drugs, but yeah, man, it was kind of weird too, because when they put her in there, it was saying how she was like kind of digging girls, and and it kind of went in that direction. And but yeah, it was like it wasn't still. You thought that would have took it, if they would have took that and ran with it, but then she still took a back seat to everybody on the show, because like you said, because Coco Jones had a good role, you know what I'm saying, and the dude that played, Will and Carlton, man, that was basically about them. And then you had the parents involved, more or less, like Uncle Phil and Jeffrey. But yeah, man, and I think one of the good things was they had the other characters have main vocal points in there too. Like I like Jazzy Jeff, or Jeff, whatever you wanted to call him, in there. It was just a lot of cool vibes in there from what I've seen on the actual show. And just loved it, man, because it was like a lot of stuff that goes on in regular life in there, and it hit close to home on every episode. So they never really missed with me. I can say that much.
Yeah, definitely. They wanted to take a more dramatic approach to Bel Air, and it definitely worked for me. Just hate that they never decided to just have that be on regular television.
Didn't make sense to me neither.
That they made that a streaming thing. Okay, Rhoda saying a TV show that was my favorite but never got syndicated was Small Wonder. Now,
yeah,
they do show Small Wonder. You just got to know where to watch it at. If I remember correctly, there's this channel called Decades, and the last time I saw Small Wonder, it was on that station because they show a lot of 80s and 90s type stuff. Now, for those who are not familiar, Small Wonder, I believe, was the show about the computer kid known as Vicky, and how they basically wanted her to assimilate with humans. So they had her go to school with the kids and whatnot, and she was learning things, but at the same time causing problems. Now, I think that show probably would hit a lot better today if they remade it.
Absolutely. If they did a remake, that'd really hit now. But
especially since we got AI and everything going on.
It was so corny back then, though, man. I was surprised who said that. That was one of the corniest shows ever. Her voice.
It was the type of corny that was,
it was 80 corny. Because you remember, you already know, man, I watch a lot of corny 80 movies, man. Killer Clowns from Outer Space and stuff like that. I still roll with them movies.
You on a whole nother level of corny with some of that stuff.
Yeah, but then that's just like we grew up off that, man. So that's the stuff. That's why I can't even non-roll for that, man. Because Small Wonder at the time, like you said, I don't think that it was for its time. But like with the AI and everything, I would like for them to actually try to bring that back out. I bet you that'd hit hard nowadays.
And I really think they missed the mark, because that's probably something they should have put on back when they were trying to transition people from cartoons into regular shows during the Saturday.
Like
that
when the
right,
90s and
yeah, that would hit right around when Saved by the Bell and all that went on. It would have been a
yeah.
good come on right after that on Saturday morning.
Cause that's when the technology started hitting like that. Because remember, we was still in SD TV, and then they was going into HD. That would have been perfect, man. Because it was a lot of shows that hit, and there was some that missed. That one could have hit, but they missed the opportunity to let it hit. So yeah, that's what I would have to say about that. But that theme song was fire, though, man. You know, any song from the '80s for a sitcom was fire, and that one was definitely one of the better sitcom theme songs.
And speaking of sitcom theme songs, I think you just wasn't human if you didn't know part of the Fresh Prince theme song.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Philadelphia, born and raised. It don't matter what color, breed, whatever. I'm pretty sure it's people overseas where they still show Fresh Prince to that day. If you start singing that song, they'll jump right in there with you, like, no, 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 no. What Philadelphia, born and raised. They got spend moments like that. You know what I'm saying? Not to pick nobody. I'm just saying. Everybody know that song.
Yeah, you gonna get us flicked, man. You tripping.
No, I ain't. No, I ain't. No disrespect. All our people. But yeah, everybody loved Will Smith and loved that show at the time. It was must see TV. It was, like I said, one top 10 shows on television when it was on for the 6 seasons it was on. But again, because Will blew up, you had to move on. Now, as always, when you have a show like that and it hits syndication, there's always talk doing a spinoff or a remake. So, of course, we got Bel Air later, but during the time they thought about doing something like that, have Carlton or one of them do a show. I'm glad they didn't go with that.
And what they did, but like you said, the streaming industry been killing everything, man. Like if they would have had that on regular TV, it would have hit, man. And I think they would have did pretty good numbers on regular TV.
But see, I think that's where streaming actually helped in this particular instance because again, it all started when they started talking about doing Bel Air, and then they started showing Fresh Prince on like MTV and BET and things of that nature. People started getting back into the show. So a whole new generation of people started seeing Fresh Prince. So when Bel Air went, that's why it hit the way it did in the first couple seasons.
Yeah, because it was a really good show, man, and just really enjoyed it. But then, you know, now with some of the shows that come out, man, when they come out, it's like you already seen some of it already, but it's only so much you could do because the season, I thought that it was going to be a longer season or like series. That's what I should have said. But it wasn't, man. Like when I saw that Wu American Saga, I was like, oh man, this about to be for at least 5-6 seasons, man. That was 3 seasons, man. And it was like with those series, some of them like that one.
I honestly feel like for most shows, this is the magic number.
And when you see it, you're like
the cop shows. The cop shows seem to have a life all their own. But any other
where else can you go?
3 years, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Where else can you go with some of these, man? Like when you see stuff like with that, like I was saying, with the American Saga, once they blew up and that double album came out, it was like, what else really do you got to say? You know?
I mean, well, part of that problem was it was based on real life, and you know, there's only so much real life you can do until you get to the present. And you know, in the present, they not hanging like that.
Not really. When they did that last tour, it's because they're all busy now, man.
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard when you have like that many people and different personalities because you've seen on the American Saga how it all, you know, ended, you know, it's just too many people, different personalities, man. So I talked about that with my homeboy Daryl. Like, man, I'm surprised they lasted this long with all them different personalities. Because when we saw the concert, we was looking and we was like, man, we want to wonder who's not here. So to see mostly everybody there, man, that surprised us, man. But they was even saying on stage, man, it's hard, man, for all of us to get together and link up. But it was a blessing to see it, though, man. I can say that much.
I will say that, you know, in the end, it all kind of worked out for damn near everybody on the show. Because James Avery, you know, he went on, he did a few movies and whatnot. He was good. Obviously, Tatiana Ali, she went on to act in other movies, like that movie, The Brothers. I love that movie. She, of course, went to school, went to Harvard, no less, and became a doctor.
And it
Tatiana
was
Ali,
cool.
not only a music superstar, but she's a doctor.
And it was cool to see her on Bel Air too, man. It was just cool to see how some of the people came and did the show too. Like it really was a spinoff, and they took
Mhm.
it that way too, you know. And Viv, it was everybody, you know. And Viv, you know, you had on there the original Jeffrey, so it was cool to see what they did with the show.
Right.
And I was happy to see that, man. And that's what gave that show a lot of energy too.
And I don't think nobody benefited more from Fresh Prince outside of Will Smith than Alfonso Ribeiro.
Yeah.
Remember, he went on, he did soap opera for a minute. He, of course, did game shows like Card Sharks. He did that.
Mhm.
He, of course,
Miracle
now
on the video.
his videos. That's his main thing. But also, he hosts the Dancing with the Stars show. So he really made out big time in that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And he was one of them guys, like I said, man, because you know, it was just cool because I was just seeing how some of the tragedies happen with some of these younger stars who were kid stars who try to come teenager and adult stars. And it was cool to see that he was one of the people who transitioned, man. So yeah, it was good
Right.
to see his
I mean,
career.
Hillary for she wasn't all that great on the show, I felt, but she did Major Pain after that and a couple other things, and she was all right with that.
Yeah, man, and she wasn't typecast. We got to keep bringing that up, man, when it all comes down to it. But yeah, I feel like that show did a lot for most of them, man, and it was actually pretty cool to see because, like you said, it was just good to just have black shows with black cast and for it to do so well. And we didn't really have that, and it was so many black shows at the time and the sitcoms that was on TV, and then to do the Bel Air and to have that be a success and to have it the way it was and how impactful it was too, even to this day. Yeah, man, that just lets you know, man, when you got something good, man, you can always have a good idea to basically give you a good, at least a base, man, because that's all they needed. They just needed the scene, man, and they made it up for what they did and for what it was worth to make it a drama and to make it hit hard, like from the real life, situations.
Right. I mean, because Bel Air was more about Bel Air and living that lifestyle.
Yeah,
Prince of Bel Air was more like Will Smith meets Beverly Hillbillies. It kind of was an intertwining of that.
yeah, because you definitely see the difference because it was like the kids out there was living a wild life and you wouldn't expect a lot of that stuff. But when your family's rich and you got money, man, you do things that uncharacteristically, people won't know that you're doing. Some of the people had their demons, when you're rich, man. It ain't all like, you gonna go through struggles, but you go through your own different struggles being, rich or living through your parents' shadows, man. So you never know, man. And that's what I liked about the show, how it hit with the pressure of being rich and going through some of the things like Carlton, how he was doing drugs, because the pressure, man, the pressure to do and to live up to his family expectations.
But no, they also dealt into his mental health as well because
Yeah,
we find out during the episodes that that brother could sing, but when it came to doing it in public, he had the anxiety and whatnot, which was why he was taking the medication in the first place.
yeah. And trying to just get caught with everything and keep his grades up.
Yep. But that's pretty much what we got for this episode, y'all. Again, glad some of y'all chimed in. Definitely wanted to hear from more of y'all. We see you popped in and out of the feed. Hopefully we'll give you a little bit more advance warning because in 2 weeks we'll be back again. I think next time around we want to start y'all off with this topic. So have this in mind for the next episode. We want to talk about black exploitation films. What was your favorite ones? Who are some of your favorite people in them? Are you even familiar with it? We want to put y'all up on something that you may not know about. He was talking about one day, JD's Revenge.
Yeah.
You never knew of that movie. Not a day. Not one day. But here's the thing. If you're not familiar with the black exploitation movies, there's a great place where you can find a lot of them. Actually, two places. One, they have a whole row of them now on Tubi. And as y'all know, Tubi is the best price possible. Free. So you can check. I'm definitely gonna check out that JD's Revenge this weekend so we can talk about it.
He's really good.
Another place where you can find them is on YouTube. You go on YouTube, type in blaxploitation movies. There are several of them. The whole entire movie that you can see for free. So check them out and let us know what you think.
You heard when Tubi clapped that. I was surprised to see that Tubi clapped at Netflix just recently, man, with their prices going up. Yeah, you ain't see that. I'm gonna send it to you, man.
I mean, it's not surprising. Think about it. Netflix is the biggest platform out there right now. Then there's Paramount and Hulu. Then right under that is Tubi.
They're gonna be in trouble now with Paramount.
I don't think you mind so much that you have to watch commercials on Tubi in exchange for it being free. And like I said, a lot of the stuff that was on Netflix now is on Tubi. Not to mention they have their own separate. Now, granted, the quality of the movies that Netflix make for their platform as opposed to Tubi is a little different. We know that. But some of the Tubi movies tend to be a little bit more interesting because of that.
Some of them Tubi movies be far-reaching too, man. I seen the movie. I thought it was so funny, man. It was so bad that it was funny.
Again, just type in Tubi sex toy movie. Thank me later.
Huh?
Craziest movie we'll ever see.
Man, that's
yeah, just type it in. I mean, quick summary. Dude go to the sex shop to buy a sex toy and end up with the sex doll, and they try to kill everybody. It's crazy. You got to check it out. It's crazy. I mean, the acting is so bad. You will laugh your ass. It's supposed to be kind of a drama slasher type thing, but it's just funny.
That is tough.
But anyway, y'all, we thank y'all for tuning in to Unks Talking TV. You got anything to say to the people before we go, Hugh?
No, that'll be all for me, man. Just like to say thank you all for chiming in and appreciate y'all.
Remember, this is our attempt to give y'all other content that's not sports related. That is what you the people have asked for, so we have heard you, and we here for you. Again, you got to let us know what y'all want to talk about. So if there's some shows we missing that we ain't talked about that you really want to get into, please hit us up in the messages and whatnot. Let us know. So next time around, we'll have that discussion. All right.
Hit us off with shows we ain't even, kind of out of left field, like Mr. Belvedere or something.
Right. Like I said, I mean, you brought up Small Wonder. That's not one I was in my head, but I do remember that show. Mr. Belvedere, I remember that show as well. So, yeah, by all means, whatever your favorite show was as a kid or as an early, whatever, we want to talk about them shows too. All right.
When I knew I was up too late, man, either MASH or Dear John to be on.
Man, MASH actually a good show to talk about some other time, especially considering what we're going through as a country right now. But anyway,
we might have another MASH soon. Damn it.
But yep, all right, y'all. So this was Unks Talking TV for my guy Uncle Hugh, your boy Uncle E-Buck, signing off. Remember, tune in tomorrow 8 p.m. for the show known as Straight Sports Talk with Coach Vincent. Got a few good guests on there for you, and hopefully y'all will check it out. Until then, we will see y'all. We throwing the fingers up and we out, baby.